Hi guys, it's Yolanda. Welcome back to my channel if you're returning, and welcome if you're new here. So today's video is all about taking your hand off of what you're believing God for, letting God be God. This is going to be the first Wisdom Wednesday that we're going to have. And what I want to give you is I want to share with you some revelation that God has been giving me about taking my hand off of something that I am believing him for. For a long time, I have been believing God for a specific area in my life to grow. And that area, I thought it should look a certain way. But what I found is that our way is not God's way, and our time is not God's time. Now, I want you to picture this. Whatever it is that you're believing God for, whatever it is that you're trusting and believing him for in this time, think about how many times you went back and tried to tamper with what you've already prayed for. Think about how many times you went back and second guessed yourself about something God may have already told you it's already done. Think about how frustrated, how miserable you have been making yourself because you are putting your hand in something that belongs to God. So we have to get to a point where we are letting God be God in our lives. So for a long time, I wanted to be a writer. All my life, I wanted to be a writer. And I accomplished that. But I accomplished that in the weirdest way. So I went through a season of loss. And in going through this season of loss, God was building me up. He was allowing me to grow spiritually. He was showing me some things that I was missing in my life. And most importantly, he was showing me that it was not about me, but about him being glorified, about me being selfless instead of being selfish. So in the midst of me becoming a self-published author, I lost one person every year for 4 years. And these people were very close to me. Now remember, I said I wanted to be a writer. My picture of being a writer had nothing to do with the loss that I experienced in my life. It had nothing to do with this. My thought process of me being a writer is I went to school for it, I studied for it, I have student loans for it, I received a degree for it. So now, okay, let's go ahead and be a writer. Now I'm ready to be a writer, right? And so for the longest time, I was putting my hand to what I thought becoming a writer should look like. I kept putting my hand on it. I kept touching it. And I created these stumbling blocks. So for 10 years after college, I published my first book. It took me 10 long years. But I want you to understand, I was touching it. I was trying to take it back from God. You got to understand, once you ask God to do something, once you believe in him that he's going to do something for you, he's going to answer your prayer, you got to leave it alone. Because in our leaving it alone, we are trusting and believing that God will come forth and do what he said he will do. Because he is not a man, he cannot and will not and shall not lie to us. So in the midst of me thinking how it's supposed to look like in becoming a writer, God says, this is how you become a writer. Now, of course, I lost a lot. But then what is most important about all of this whole journey that God took me on to become this writer, it looked nothing like what I pictured in my mind. Because, as I said, God's ways are not ours. How we think something should look, we keep putting our hand to it because this is what we think it should look like. But if we let God be God in our lives, he'll show us it's an easier way to get to what you're believing me for. Now, surely a season of loss is not what he meant in my case. But in my situation, what he was showing me that you're thinking that all these steps that you're taking, the key here is you, not God. because I was going about it my way and not God's way, it took 10 long years. Because sometimes God will allow you to go through something. He'll allow you to keep circling back, because you keep touching something that doesn't belong to you. Take your hand out of it. Let God be God. If you take it to God and leave it there, and when we leave it there, we leave it in faith. We leave it in trust. Take your hand out of what you've prayed for. Stop going back, touching what you've asked God to remove. Stop going back, touching what you've asked God to release. Stop going back, touching what you asked God to turn around. The thing I want you to remember mostly, God's ways are not our ways. We create stumbling blocks because we keep touching what we are believing God to do. Stay back, stand still. Hold fast to God's truth, his word. Stop touching what you've already asked God to release, remove, turn around. Stop touching it. And what you'll find it when you stop touching it, you'll be more joyful. You'll have more peace. And that waiting that I was talking about, it won't be so long because you will be focused from not the thing, but on God. You see, God has his plans, and we as a man, we think we know because we are right now people, and we think we get a little bit, oh, that's all I need, and then I can do the rest. But no, we need God for every single thing in our life, in every area in our life. Is sometimes you can make it longer to receive your blessing, and it's not going to look like what you pictured it to be. God can turn any situation around. God can move mountains, heaven and earth for you. He can do anything, but you must first believe. You must second remove your hand in it. But most importantly, you must have faith, trust, believe, and know that God is a God of mighty power. He is a God of keeping his promises. Take your hand off of it. Let God be God.